everyone, welcome to our very first VidaPod episode. To talk about Vida Medical first, you already know that Vida Medical is a premier clinic located in the center of Colombo, and we prioritize the physical health and the mental health of our patients all around. Now, if you already know about our socials, you must have noticed that we try to prioritize a wide variety of topics related to mental health, physical health, and most importantly, we always try to touch on very controversial, stigmatized, taboo topics such as sexual health and some other mental health related aspects as well. Now, talking about our socials, you must have noticed that, especially on our TikTok and Instagram, there are certain topics that actually went viral. And few of these episodes were done by one of our well known general physicians, and that is why we invited Dr. Rashmira Balasurya for our very first VidaPod episode. Welcome, Dr. Rashmira.
Thank you. I'm so honored.
How do you feel about very first VidaPod episode? Because you have been in a lot of our social media content as well.
Yeah.
And you must have noticed that a limitation that we always had as Dr. Rashmi, the timing factor. We had to keep it narrow and we had to keep the content under 1 minute.
Yeah.
Which is why we sort of decided on launching VidaPod. So what do you think about it?
I think it's so important to have something like this because, like you said, the videos we do for TikTok and Instagram are very concise. So we can't really explain a lot. And then a lot of people have a lot of comments. They have a lot of questions that we can't always address. So I think having a longer format is definitely helpful.
Okay, I'm glad. So let's hope for the best. So Dr. Ashmina, now in today's episode, we are going to talk about a topic that affects millions of women out there.
Yeah.
PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. Before we touch on PCOS, could you tell me what made you become this passionate about women's health, especially when it comes to sexual health field?
Yeah, so I mean, I've always had a passion for obstetrics and gynecology as a medical student as well. But when I came down to Sri Lanka while I was a medical student and I used to work at the Family Planning Association, I really understood the great deficit there was when it comes to sexual and reproductive health issues in Sri Lanka. And people can't go anywhere because it's such a taboo, such a stigmatized topic that they'd rather just suffer in silence, especially women. So that really ignited a passion in me to understand more about sexual and reproductive health, more about women's health, and encourage more women, especially Sri Lankan women, to come forward and seek help when they have these issues.
I think it's really good initiative, Dr. Rashmina, because I have seen so many professional articles of yours as well in many magazines and where you're touching on very taboo topics when it comes to sexual health that really needs to be addressed in Sri Lanka. This is why I chose the topic of PCOS because we did sort of this anonymous question and answer on our socials as well. A lot of our patients' audience were sort of requesting to talk about like PCOS because they believe like nowadays almost all women got PCOS. We really need to touch on that statistic. But what do you know about PCOS? Like in simple terms, Dr. Rashmira, if it's easier for everyone to grasp. In simpler terms, what is PCOS?
Okay, so PCOS, like you said before, stands for polycystic ovarian syndrome. So if you break the word down, now it actually, when you think about it, and I'll touch on this later as well, it's not the perfect kind of word for the actual issues that people experience. But and they're thinking about changing the name also. But when you think about polycystic ovaries, that means your ovaries. So people who are born female, they have 2 ovaries. And if you have a number of ovaries, it's called polycystic. Number of cysts. On your ovaries, it's polycyst.
Okay.
Right? So that, and then when you have syndrome in the name, that means it's a collection of symptoms. So it's not just one symptom, it's a number of symptoms. So polycystic ovarian syndrome basically means that your ovaries have multiple little cysts and they are causing a lot of problems, a lot of symptoms, which come as a syndrome.
So, Dr. Rashmira, all right, so cyst is a main factor here. What are some other common signs that you can see in PCOS?
So when it comes to PCOS, there are 3 cardinal signs that actually doctors use to diagnose a person with PCOS. You don't need to have all 3, you just need 2 out of the 3. So one is having irregular or absent periods. One is having a high testosterone level, so you get acne, you get hair loss, you get excessive hair growth on your face. And the last one is when you do a scan and you look at the ovaries, there are more than 12 cysts on one ovary. So that is those are the three cardinal features, and you need 2 out of those 3 to be diagnosed with PCOS. But PCOS doesn't end there. There are a lot more symptoms that women, experience, and you might have heard people have difficulty losing weight, they have fatigue, they have darkening at the back of the neck, under their arms, they have anxiety, depression, body issues. They can also have coexisting other medical conditions. So there's a large insomnia. There's a large number of symptoms that actually go with PCOS, including fertility issues also.
All right. Definitely, it's a very broader area than we already know, right?
Very complex.
So, would you say, Dr. Ashmira, then generation ගොඩාක් PCOS තියෙනවා කියලා, like, would you believe on that?
Now, I think honestly, with TikTok and social media, there's a lot of talk about PCOS, right? So currently it's about anywhere between 1 in 5 to 1 in 10 other current statistics, but of course it differs with Caucasians and Asians.
Okay.
There's a difference there as well. But a lot of, we don't know why exactly it's happening. The incidence has increased in the past number of years, but there's genetic factors, environmental factors. We can't pinpoint on one. It's most likely an interplay of a lot of this. But yeah, the numbers are increasing. But the way TikTok and Instagram makes it sound, it's like everyone walking has PCOS. That is not the case. You need to actually go to a healthcare professional, a doctor, to get diagnosed with PCOS. Please don't just diagnose yourself with PCOS.
Definitely, self-diagnosis,
Yeah.
yes. Now, when you talk about irregular, like, it can depend from person's terminology defining that
Yes.
as well, right? How would you define irregular periods?
Right. So now none of us are robots, right? We can't all menstruate exactly every 28
Yeah.
days. Some of us are lucky and every 28 days, like clockwork, it comes. But that's not the case for the vast majority, right? So anywhere between bleeding every 21 days to every 35 days is considered a normal length of a menstrual cycle.
Okay.
So if your period is not coming, in 40 days, 3 months even, that is considered irregular. But for some people, it can come, 6 weeks, then again it can come in 2 months, and again in a month. So that's also considered irregular.
Yeah.
But remember that just having one period that is a bit off doesn't diagnose you with irregular periods. It's for at least about 6 months.
6 months. But now, Dr. Ashmir, this is like a personal question. I have noticed that there are so many young girls who are sort of like hitting puberty, like at the age of 7, 9.
Yeah.
So, like, definitely irregular periods would be a part of their lifestyle in the beginning stages.
Yeah.
Right?
So that is quite young to be 7 is quite
Yeah.
young to be in a period, and that's called exempt as precocious puberty also. The average age that you get your first period is still about 10, 11, right? But yes, in the first year after you get your period for the first time, it's very common to have menstrual irregularities till your hormones kind of find a balance. Again, when you're closer to menopause, your hormones are again a little bit all over the place. Again, your periods can get irregular. That's considered normal as well. But in the middle thereafter, if you're having irregular periods out of that 21 to 35 day window period, then that is what we consider irregular period.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that explanation, because I know, like, when it comes to irregular periods, because we are not very well educated when it comes to periods as well, still in Sri Lanka, right?
Yeah.
So people can doubt it. Most of the
100%,
time.
because none of us, not now it's getting better, but
Yeah.
most of us didn't get any kind of comprehensive sexuality education in school. Reproductive systems, anatomy, nobody knows where anything is going, anything is coming. So it's completely understandable that a large majority of people in Sri Lanka do not know about periods.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is PCOS a condition that is like curable? Like, is there a cure for it?
So I wouldn't say curable, I would say manageable.
Okay.
Right? But PCOS is something that if you are diagnosed with PCOS your entire life, you have to be a little bit vigilant about your lifestyle choices when it comes to this, because it can, you are at risk of getting insulin resistance or diabetes, you're at risk of heart disease. So you have to be conscious about that.
This diabetes thing as well, I have heard of this insulin resistance a lot when it comes to PCOS. So could you also say, like, if, like, genetically, if they're like pre-diabetic, can that lead to PCOS?
So it's a bit complex, that like interplay between insulin resistance and PCOS. But all of us being brown, we're anyway at risk of getting diabetes in the future. That's just how our genes go, right?
Okay.
But when it comes to PCOS, what we found is people with PCOS, there's an element of insulin resistance. So what happens is your insulin is a hormone that converts basically starch and sugars into energy in our body. And when we have PCOS, the cells in our body become resistant to this insulin. So our pancreas, which is the organ that produces insulin, produces more and more and more insulin, trying to stimulate our body to kind of convert these sugars, right? So when you have when our body is not responding, we have a high level of insulin because our pancreas is like trying to trigger it, right? So that is called insulin resistance, and that leads to then pre-diabetes and then diabetes ultimately if we're not careful.
All right. So if a person is noticing some of these core symptoms, what is the first step they need to take, and what are some sort of like diagnostic tools out there we have to be diagnosed with PCOS?
Okay, so if anybody has any kind of issues with their periods, and if you're not sure, if you're thinking, is this normal, is this not normal, Google is saying one thing, just go and speak to your general physician, any doctor that you find approachable, go and speak to them. There's nothing to be ashamed about when it comes to talking about your periods, whether it's painful periods, irregular periods, missing periods, speak to a doctor, right? So when it comes to PCOS, the cardinal symptoms that we look for are irregular or absent periods, excessive acne, excessive facial hair growth, hair loss, signs that you have a high testosterone levels. But even if you're having issues like insomnia, you're having fatigue, difficulty losing weight, difficulty getting pregnant, those are all indications to please go and speak to a doctor. Yeah, and then when we think about PCOS, there are a couple of blood tests that we have to do. We're looking for insulin resistance, for instance. Sometimes we look at your hormone levels also. And then we can also do a scan, either a tummy scan or an intravaginal scan to look at your ovaries. The intravaginal scan gives us a better picture than the tummy scan sometimes, the abdominal scan, to see whether there are multiple cysts on the ovaries.
All right. Okay. So, Dr. Rashmi, let's jump into the question where what are the medications out there? What are some of the most common treatment methodologies for PCOS?
Yeah, so there are a couple of treatment options that we give. But when you think about PCOS, Rashmi, I always say we have to manage it holistically. There's the biopsychosocial impact that PCOS has on any person's life. So you're not just managing medically, you have to manage psychologically as well.
Yeah.
So one thing that I always do is, because PCOS has been associated very much with depression, anxiety, body dysmorphia, issues like that, low self-esteem. So it's very important that even though I'm a doctor, I can't handle all of that. I bring in a psychologist all the time, and we do a multidisciplinary kind of team effort to manage a person who has PCOS. But yeah, so psychological aspect very important. The number one thing when it comes to PCOS is having a healthier lifestyle, right? Now I know it's easier said than done. People with PCOS are often told go and lose weight and come, and losing weight for someone with PCOS, it's very difficult. It's very, very hard to shed those pounds off. So having a high protein diet, doing slow weighted exercises, avoiding high intensity but actually doing weights is very important for losing weight and having a healthier lifestyle. Going on walks, Pilates, yoga, really important exercises to do if you have PCOS, because it really helps you lose weight. And like I said, your diet as well, increasing your protein intake, reducing, sugars, and, I know people get a lot of cravings when you have PCOS, so controlling that as well. When it comes to medication, you probably have heard of metformin or the oral contraceptive pill. Those are kind of the options we have. So if you're trying to get pregnant, for instance, metformin is a great option. It helps improve fertility chances also. And if someone has insulin resistance, it helps with that. The oral contraceptive pill is great because it helps regularize your period. So someone who had very ad hoc or missing period, you get a period like clockwork, you get a breakthrough bleed every month. If you have acne, it helps with that as well, because the oral contraceptive pill has the female hormones, estrogen and progesterone. And that balance, then your testosterone levels will, that balance then goes differently, where the estrogen levels are higher, so acne improves and those kind of things improve as well. But some people do have issues with the oral contraceptive pill, which I know you might probably be asking me about.
Yes.
So some people choose not to take it, and that is okay, but it's important to have a discussion with your doctor to find out what your options are. There are newer things now that are coming in. There's evidence for a supplement called inositol. There's still trials going on for things called like berberine, turmeric, curcumin. So lots of things coming up, but definitely what we have is metformin, the oral contraceptive pill, and now the Australian guidelines have just included inositol as well, which is a supplement.
Okay. Is PCOS sort of like increasing the susceptibility, vulnerability towards getting diagnosed with cancer as well?
So the thing there is it's a little tricky. You're at an increased risk purely because when you're not having a bleed every single month, the lining of your uterus is becoming thicker and thicker and thicker, and that has the potential to suddenly turn cancers, to become
Okay.
atypical, what we call it. So you are at a higher risk, and anybody, if, for instance, not everybody with PCOS is overweight, but if you are overweight, if you are obese, having a higher amount of fat cells anyway puts you at risk of getting cancers.
So, Dr. Ashmira, you touched on the psychological aspect as well. Now, me being a psychologist, I have so many clients who come in. Definitely, their main question is not related to PCOS.
Yeah.
But I sort of see how, like you mentioned, due to PCOS, they have a lot of body insecurities.
Yeah.
Right, and they struggle to lose weight as well. Now, what are your suggestions? I know you touched on it briefly as well. What are your suggestions for a person who is struggling with mental health concerns related to PCOS, because they are stuck with this mentality that, oh, it's going to be forever, right? Is it?
So this is the thing, it's tricky to say forever, but yes, it is a condition that you have to keep managing. You can't just let it go and be like, I'm cured forever. It's not like a urine infection where we give you antibiotics and you're good to go after like 5 to 7 days, right? It's something that you have to keep working at. So I would say anyone with PCOS, because now it's not a death sentence by any means, but it's something that you need to control to improve your quality of life and your health, right? So if you are having psychological issues, I always say it's good. I think everyone needs to go and see a psychologist, quite frankly, whether you have PCOS or not.
Yes.
But if you're having low moods, if you're having anxiety, panic attacks, you're being more reclusive, you don't want to go out as much because you're having issues with how you look or how you feel, please definitely go and speak to a psychologist. It's just a small, simple step that you can take that might open up a world of like good for you.
Let's see. Is PCOS genetically transmitted as well? If a mother has it, is there a chance that the daughter would have it as well?
There's not direct genetic link like that, but there is an interplay of genetics for sure between but environment and genetics.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Dr. Ashmita, I mentioned certain sort of like anonymous questions that we received from our audience, right, on our socials. I would like to go across some of these questions. Some are not even questions, but a lot of venting out because they're extremely frustrated about their diagnosis as well. So, definitely there are some in English and there are some in Sinhala as well. So, this is one of the questions that we got. Let me read it out. මේ ක්වෙස්චන් එක එවලා තියෙන්නේ මං ඒ ගර්ල්ගේ ඒජ් එක නම් දන්නේ නැහැ. අහලා තිනවා මං මුලින්ම ගයිනකොලොජිස්ට් කෙනෙක් ළඟට ගියේ මගේ පීරියඩ්ස් රෙගියුලර් නැති නිසා. මම ගිය ගමන් මට බර්ත් කන්ට්‍රෝල් පිල් එකක් ප්‍රෙස්ක්‍රයිබ් කරා. මට තාම 17යි යම් ඒජ් එක මෙන්ෂන් කරලා තියෙනවා. මට තාම 17යි. අම්මා අකමැති වුණා ඒකට. කියන්නේ බර්ත් කන්ට්‍රෝල් පිල් එක ප්‍රෙස්ක්‍රයිබ් කරපු නිසා අම්මා ඒකට අකමැති වුණා. ඒ නිසා දැන් අම්මා මට සිංහල බෙහෙත් කරනවා PCOS වලට. So make a question එකක් නෑ, definitely there's no question.
So I mean Ayurvedic singular medicine, I'm sure there are solutions there as well. It's just that is not my area of expertise to comment on. With the oral contraceptive pill, we don't always use it for contraception. And this is a problem that the older generation has, right? That if you give someone the oral contraceptive pill, they are going to go and have sex, and that's they're leading them towards that. No, we use the oral contraceptive pill for a number of things, including painful periods, acne treatment as well, irregular periods, like I said, if you're having heavy bleeding, for instance, it helps give you a nice breakthrough bleed. So the oral contraceptive pill is not just for contraception, we also use it for other conditions. Yeah.
I think ගොඩක්ම මං අහලත් තියෙන ගොඩාක් ඔය older generations වල ladiesලා කියන දෙයක් තමයි birth control pills prescribe කරොත් ඒව cancer වලට යනවා, ඒක ඇඟට හොඳ නැහැ, ඕක artificial කියන එක ගොඩාක් අහනවා. ඇත්තටම artificial දෙයක.
මේක තමයි. දැන් ඒක artificial hormone එකක් තමයි that's in the pill, right? But yes, there is a very, very small increased risk of cervical cancer and breast cancer with long-term use. There's a very small increased risk of breast cancer when you use it for a long term. But the oral contraceptive pill also protects against bowel cancer, ovarian cancer. So there are protection benefits as well.
Another question, චුට්ටක් ඒකට related. Again question එකක් තමයි මේක. ඇයි හුඟක් doctorsලා මම හිතන්නේ gynecologistලා ගැන කියන්නේ බර අඩු කරගෙන එන්න කියන්නේ PCOS තිබ්බ කිව්ව ගමන්.
Now, because not all, but most people who have PCOS are overweight. When you are overweight, it is difficult to manage the hormonal imbalances there. And you are more likely to have insulin resistance as well,
Okay.
right? And that makes it even more difficult sometimes to manage PCOS.
Okay.
So, the number one mainstay treatment of PCOS is to adopt healthy lifestyle patterns. Now, that is difficult, right? That is not easy for us to change our minds when we've been eating a certain way, not exercising as much. It's difficult, but that is a key step because we can just give you medicines, but that won't treat the underlying problem, right? So, to treat the underlying problem, there is an element of healthy lifestyle choices that have to be made, including weight loss and increase in exercise as well.
Okay. I think that's a good point because I think අර ලංකාවේ ගොඩක් මම හිතන්නේ ගෑනු පිරිමි කියලා ભેදයක් නෑ ගොඩක් කට්ටිය අර quick solutions. They always go for medication.
ඒක tablet එකක්ම දෙන්න ඕනේ.
yeah.
To be happy,
Yes,
right?
yes.
If we don't give you a tablet and we give you counsel you and say, listen, this is what you have to do, but it doesn't involve having to drink anything or apply a cream or anything, they're not happy.
That's a
Yeah.
thing. It is a big issue.
It is a huge issue. I have it all the time. If I say, you have a ear infection, actually we can watch and wait a little bit and see. No, they're not happy to watch and wait. They want a instant fix.
Yeah. Okay. Another question. We got a few in English as
Yeah.
well. I have tried so hard to lose my PCOS weight. Unfortunately, the more cardio I do, the more weight I gain. Is there something else?
So so cardio, you're stressing your body out more. The way to exercise for PCOS, now that we have evidence about it, is to do weighted exercises, slow weighted exercises. So Pilates, cardio is fine. I mean, you can go on the treadmill, walk at an inclination, but you don't have to run and like put your body at stress as well, or go spinning and put your body at stress. Slow weighted exercise is the way to go, and Pilates, yoga, all are great just to keep your body moving. And walking is great. Getting in like 10,000 steps a day is challenging, but aim for that. And you don't have to walk if you can't walk in at Viharamade Park or any of these valley parks or places. Walk in your house, up and down your stairs, track your step count.
So, like, when she mentioned about cardio, like, is there something like, high intensity, low intensity, like the impact on
Yes.
PCOS? Like, is it related to cortisol then?
It's a little bit with cortisol as well, but I know there's this cortisol craze on TikTok now on reducing your cortisol levels, right? Your cortisol levels are supposed to change with you throughout the day. When you get stressed out, you need that cortisol reaction. So that's another whole episode.
Okay.
But basically, don't do high intensity exercises because you're stressing your body out. Yes, you're going to have more belly fat that way. Low intensity exercises is the way to go, especially with weights and Pilates, yoga, walking, swimming.
All right. So, one last question, Dr. Ashmita. I always had irregular periods since I hit puberty. The gynecologist did a scan and said there are no cysts. So, it is not PCOS. But then I got frustrated and I went to another gynecologist. And this gynecologist told me to do a hormonal test. And actually, even though I didn't have cysts apparently, the hormonal test concluded that she has PCOS.
Yeah, so like I said, even though the scan finding ovaries with multiple cysts is one symptom, one criteria that we have to meet, there are two other criterias, right? So it's called the Rotterdam criteria to be a bit, just give a little bit more information. But basically that criteria has three cardinal symptoms. One is having absent or irregular periods. One is having a high testosterone level. So you have facial hair, acne, hair loss, things like that. And the last one is doing a scan and finding polycysts, so multiple cysts more than 12 in an ovary. You need to have only 2 out of those 3. So somebody who has irregular absent periods and has a high testosterone level is diagnosed with PCOS. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, so that was sort of like the end of our Q&A session. But before we wrap up our session, Dr. Ashmita, could you sort of suggest one thing? If you could tell one thing to a woman who is diagnosed with PCOS, what it would be?
If you are diagnosed with PCOS, it's not a death sentence. It's not something to cause huge panic, but it is something that you need to get a control over, right? So it's something that can increase your risk of heart disease, increase your risk of diabetes, like I said before. And there can be other factors in playing in as well, like thyroid issues also. So please go and speak to a doctor. There are so many GPs, there are so many gynecologists now who are like friendly, who are accessible, who won't judge you. I know it's difficult sometimes, but please speak to somebody who can help guide you through this journey where you can ultimately take control over it and you know what will work for you thereafter.
All right. So, Dr. Ashmita, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for
I
having
think
me.
it was quite brief, but we did dive really in depth into certain related
100%,
topics
yeah.
as well. So, everyone who is watching, I hope you enjoyed our very first VidaPod episode. So, in our future episodes, we're going to cover a wide variety of topics. Definitely not just physical health, mental health, and other social stigmas and taboos that we really need to address within this little island. So, I hope you will stay tuned. If you have any suggestions, any topics, and any guests that you would like to have on our future podcast episodes, please do drop a comment down below. Take care then.